don't be afraid to just take a chance and go in and fail forward. If you're going into something and you just hitting it on the money every single time, that's probably not a good thing. You're probably not challenging yourself enough. So you need to be looking forward to failures. As crazy and the counterintuitive as that sounds, you need to be looking for where you can fail and poke holes in your own plan.
So really excited for this week's episode on entrepreneurial impact. This week, I'm your co-host, Joe Martin, with Dave Donaldson, but we've got the ability and pleasure today to feature Richie Zapata, one of our real estate agents down over in the Virginia Beach area. Really excited for his journey and what he's going to share with as far as influential and inspiring for people, but also some of the nitty gritty and some of the little tidbits he's going to be able to share with us on what caused the success, but also why entrepreneurialism is so important to him and those around him. So Richie, can you just introduce yourself a little bit and just kick off and what's been your journey, man?
Yeah, Dave, Joe, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor and privilege. I'm excited. So the journey, man, it's all about the journey. So where do I start? Born and raised, 39 years young, born and raised in New York City. I'm of Puerto Rican descent, mom and dad, Puerto Rican, born and raised in the concrete jungle and housing projects in New York City. Very humble beginnings, one of 7 kids, went to public school, had a great time, played sports, pretty normal childhood. Had some challenges growing up in a pretty rough environment, but it gave me the resilience I needed today to get through, small obstacles in life as they hit me. So went to school, went to college, first in my family to graduate college, and then decided I had the opportunity to attend grad school and study sport management. At one point, I wanted to be Jerry Maguire. I was so into sports and I wanted to be like a sports agent. I was a washed up athlete and I was like, you know what, I want to be an agent. So my guidance counselor at the time was like, hey, the State University of New York at Cortland is starting a sport management program. You should take your GRE and go shoot, go for it. So I did. And first in my family to get accepted to grad school, went to grad school, got my act together, did pretty decent in grad school. And then, so 6 years of school, undergrad and grad. And then I decided I wanted to get out there and test my skills in the workforce. And so I just did what anybody else would do. I moved to Florida on a whim. I just went to Florida. I got a sales job. I wanted to just get my feet wet and get in there and see what I'm made of, basically. And so Kaleo Okina, a good friend of mine, he was on your podcast. He always laughed at me. He's like, you sold cheesesteaks door to door. I was not selling cheesesteaks. I did sell door to door and business to business for a company down in South Florida. And that really taught me a lot about myself and just about sales and human interactions and communication in general. But this is around the time that the market was crashing. And so about 07, 08, I lost that job. Actually, I got burnt out on the sales job, to be quite honest. I was working 80 hours a week. I was, just driving myself nuts. Then I got another job with a merchant services company, business to business, got laid off from that job. And then I wound up just bussing tables at the local restaurant with a master's degree at 23 years old, in South Beach, just bussing tables to make ends meet. At that point, I hit rock bottom. My life became like a country song. I lost my car. My car got repossessed, lost my apartment, lost my girlfriend. And what else? All I had was this job, bussing tables, taking the bus back and forth from my apartment in South Beach. And I didn't have a place to stay. Honestly, I was basically like homeless, but not really, because my younger brother lived out there with me. So I slept on his couch for a couple months, and I lived with my brother on his couch in a studio apartment for like 6 months while I was just bussing tables, figuring out what I'm going to do with my life after I spent 6 years, getting a graduate degree. And I joined the Navy. I decided, you know what, I want to hit the reset button. So I joined the Navy. I reached out to the Navy recruiter. He came over, gave me my little test. And about 3 weeks later, I was in boot camp, and that was 2009. I joined. Did 4 deployments. I was in an expeditionary small tight unit, about 50 guys to a detachment called the Riverines. We were together doing deployments, South America, Central America, Middle East. And then at the 10-year mark, I decided to get out. I wanted to, try my hand at at being an entrepreneur and really reaching my potential. And that's when I got into real estate, got my license in 2018, started my team in 2020. And, here we are 2 years later, and it's been an incredible journey. I'm super grateful.
Well, I mean, at least you're on South Beach living on a couch. I mean, there's
I know.
Kansas somewhere and really had horrible scenery.
Yeah.
Question for you. Obviously, reset button, military, did a deployment, and thank you for your service. I think that's an amazing, dynamic as well as just learning experience. Why real estate? So you get out of the military after almost 10 years, and you're like, I could do pretty much anything. You've got some VA benefits and things like that, and reaccommodating your life. Why real estate? Was there like any type of funny story on how you fell into real estate or why you picked real estate?
So I've always been intrigued by real estate. So growing up, buying a house wasn't even like a thought. I mean, I grew up in public housing, on welfare, food stamps. Like in New York City, in the projects, buying a house and a mortgage, that's not even a conversation. Not that it's not attainable, but it was like a far-fetched dream. My father always instilled in us. He was like, "Hey, one day I'm gonna buy you guys a house." He almost like brainwashed us into thinking that one day we're gonna have this awesome house in Florida. And I guess now that I think about it, deep in the back of my mind, it kind of held tight to me as a person. So he's like, "Yeah, one day we're gonna have a house." And yeah, Dad, yeah, it sounds good, because we were kind of in a small, tight apartment, and it allowed me to cast that vision and see it. Eventually when I was probably halfway through my military career, I was able to I was qualified for the VA loan as an E5 in the Navy, and I bought my first house. It was a condo, and that in itself is a huge accomplishment. I mean, a huge life accomplishment. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm a homeowner. It's a small condo in Virginia Beach Town Center. I still own it. It's an investment property. And I was just so amazed at what's possible if you just do it, and so after I bought the house in 2013, I started thinking about, man, I know I want to learn more about real estate. I really want to invest. I really want to take this to the next level. That was way easier than I thought. I know I can do it again. And so when 2018 rolled around, I knew I had 1 year left in my contract. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and take the test and get my real estate license so I can learn from the inside how I can become an investor and learn all the ins and outs of real estate as a licensed professional, and then go become an investor and do what I was destined to do, which is be great and impact lives and reach my full potential. Because in the military, I didn't feel like, although I'm grateful for my time in the military and for service, and I miss the people, you're kind of capped at what you're capped at what you're able to do. You might make rank, you might do great things and get awards and this, that, and the third, but like potential wise as a person, you don't quite always get a chance to display that potential or reach that potential. So that's when I took the chance. And 2018, actually, one of the people who inspired me, Clay Okino, who was on your podcast, a good friend of mine, he was the first one I saw transition on social media from being an active duty military member to a real estate agent full time. And that really inspired me to like look into it and be like, wow, he can do it. I know I can do it. I'm kind of in that phase right now. So that's what I decided to do. Just, get out of the military and take a chance on myself.
It's really amazing. And you hear your story and your mindset, right? The military, what it's able to do for so many, from a structure and a drive. And then now you're saying, like, when your good friends had done that same thing, and you didn't think twice, you're like, yes, that's what I'm going to do, right? You
Absolutely.
You respected for doing yourself that this was attainable. You'd already started to do it a little bit, right, by investing for yourself. And realized, here's a career for you. Now, that was not that long ago. So how did you do it so rapidly? I mean, what was that where you just kind of hit the ground and running?
Yeah, so I do have a sales background. I understand psychology and communication and how to persuade people. Selling coupons door to door is not easy. And after a couple thousand doors, you get pretty decent at it. So you get to understand mannerisms and what people like and tone and all that good stuff. So I knew I could be in sales. It was just a matter of, okay, could I do it at this level? And then eventually could I scale it? So before I even became a solo agent, I knew that I wanted to grow a team. I just didn't know what that looked like. So I started, with the basics, man, the first couple of things I did, I mean, the first 2 years in real estate, probably the first year, I read over 30 to 40 books, listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts, and just like networked and talked to so many people. I'm an analytical, even though I am a DI, I do have that analytical side of me where I need to know the specifics of how to do things. I need to know the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, as we say in the military, on how to get the best results. So I picked as many people's brains as possible. I bought a ton of lunches and breakfasts and coffees and read a bunch of books and podcasts. And I just applied it, one at a time slowly, and it built up. And so my first year as a solo agent, I did, my first 6 months of real estate, I did about 4 deals. I'm like, okay, I can get the hang of this. I can do this. And then when I got out full time, started doing real estate and got out of the military, I had some money in reserves and, in savings, probably at 15, 20,000, but I still had a bunch of debt. I still had a mortgage, and I still had responsibilities. So I had to make it happen fast. And I just really stuck with my sphere of influence. And I did about 22 deals my first year as a solo agent. And that's when I realized, okay, the next step is coming soon. And that was in 2019 when I did that. And then, of course, 2020 hit, and we all know what happened in 2020. So that's when things really skyrocketed for my business.
So, question for you. I think this is really like the crux of why Dave and I wanted to start this podcast, is really like the stories are great, because like there's so many stories of like, you were in poverty and you're like, I was in welfare and public housing, and now I own a house and a real estate team and all these different investment properties, and like inspiring people to realize that like there are stories that you can align with and people have done it before you. My question to you, as you've looked at your peaks, valleys, and peaks again, and the impact of people around you, when you look at entrepreneurialism, like you could have stayed in the Navy and done however many more years and retired at that whatever rank you wanted to get to. You could have gone corporate, or you could have gone into a contracting job based on your clearances. And it's really like getting a job. So why, when you look at the past 5 years, right, and you went entrepreneurialism, right? You went and said, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to build something and truly be a business owner. What impact do you think entrepreneurialism has had on you? And then what impact have you had on people around you because of what you created and bet on yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So entrepreneurialism has had a huge impact on me in my life, and what I think and what I even thought was possible. So, I mean, I've always had it in me. I've always been really intrigued by people who work for themselves and build businesses and whatnot. So I knew at some point I was going to take a shot. But while I was in the military, I just couldn't shake this feeling that I wasn't quite reaching my potential. I knew that I had more in me. Although I thrived and I was getting promoted and doing great things, I still had like this itch to do more. And I knew that I had the capability to do more because, I got a taste of it before the military. I had a life before the military. So when I was doing sales and I was doing well, I was like, wow, there's no ceiling to this. I can actually like level up and grow and impact more people. So that part of me, I talk about this with some of my teammates who are veterans. That part of me, of my brain, was dormant. While you're in the military, you're focused on the mission, you focus on doing the right thing, taking care of business. But there's parts of your brain, parts of your personality you just don't have to turn on. Like being an entrepreneur is just not something. It's not part of being in the military. So having that individual, mindset and like being able to think for yourself. Unfortunately, a lot of times in the military, you don't have to think for yourself. They do the thinking for you. You just have to execute. And so awakening of that part of my mind and my personality and just me as a person, that awakening allowed me to really realize, oh, wow, I could actually take this further than I even thought. And then when I started to see the residual impact of the people around me as I started building my team, that just did it for me. I was like, this is my calling. This is what I want to do. And by this, I mean, change lives, impact people, change, create legacy, change the trajectory of somebody else's life. There's nothing that makes me happier. So that's what it's done for me. It's everything. Now I'll never look back. You're right. I could have gotten a contracting job. I had a great clearance. I was basically offered jobs right when I got out. And so, but I could not go forward. And I didn't want to live with regret thinking, man, what if I would have gave it a shot? What if I would have really taken that serious, and built that business? I can't live with the what if. So I gave it a shot. In my mind, I knew I wasn't going to fail because failure was not an option, but I gave it my best shot and it worked out. And now I'm able to actually do more with it. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to look back. And I'm actually working on taking people who are transitioning from the military, whether they're going to intern with us or transition into the business any other way. I want them to experience the same thing, that awakening, that journey of like, hey, I can do more. I'm capable of doing more. You don't have to just shoot and settle for, retirement, a pension, although that's wonderful. That's great. That's a very, very, that's an awesome goal to have. However, if you know you can do more and you're capable of more, give it a shot. You owe it to yourself. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on.
Just to wrap that with a bow, and I know Dave's got a question here. What I'm hearing you say is that entrepreneurialism allowed you to become, or at least open the opportunity for you to be the best version of yourself. Like you still had to try and do all the work, but if you had stayed in a structured world, you wouldn't have been able to expose yourself to all those different things. That being a business owner, all the things that you don't realize that you need to be exposed to are the things you haven't actually learned, comes pretty quickly. And then I also heard the aspect that because it challenges you in ways that you never thought you would actually have to, it causes you to grow. And that growth has actually changed your way of thinking around, how do I pass this on to somebody else? And how do I actually impact their lives? And had it not been for the entrepreneurial opportunity, you might not be who you are today. And those experiences might not be had.
Absolutely. That's the more being a leader and leading people and having casting a vision and working every day towards that vision, having other people who are bought in and following you is a very humble experience, as you guys know, as leaders in our region. And it just really shifts your mind and makes you realize, like, okay, I really have to be the leader that they need me to be. And so I take that very serious because they have families. I mean, our lead agent, Megan, who's been with me since day one when we first started the team, she's pregnant. She's giving birth in September. And we just had this conversation today. We had a one-on-one today on the phone. And I was like, how you feeling? And she was like, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really great about maternity leave and everyone on the team having my back. And that was just such a good feeling to have, knowing that, our lead agent, our top agent is about to go on 2 months of maternity leave and we all have her back. We're all on the same page. Her business will continue to grow and she'll be able to experience this incredible life experience of having a child, her and her husband. So, it's just incredible. There's nothing like it. Another conversation I had with Zach, who's our recently transitioning teammate from being an intern 6 months to now full-time real estate. He's a retired chief petty officer, 20 years in the Navy. And, he interned up for us for 6 months. His last day in the Navy is Thursday. And I had my one-on-one with him today. And I said, hey man, so how you feeling? He said, dude, I've never felt so good. He said something really, really powerful. He said, I hope he doesn't mind I share this, but he said, I've been fishing more times in the last 30 days with my kids. He has 4 sons, mind you. I've been fishing in the last 30 days more times with my kids than I have in the last 5 years. And he said, man, I've spent so much time with my wife and kids and I'm just loving this. And just the freedom and knowing that there's no ceiling to what we do and that we're learning and growing every day. He's so invigorated, and that just does so much for me as a leader. It just motivates me to provide more opportunity for them to live the life that they deserve.
I love that why for you, right? And where that's coming from. And you just lit up talking about your associates that work with you, right? For them, right. It's not a job, right? They're involved with you and you're emotionally connected to them. That's not an easy thing. I mean, inherently, I think people have that, right? Some people have it, but that's a lot of responsibility and it's not easy for everybody. So your comfort level is amazing. But I also know that I watch you talk about investing. So you're not just about helping them build their profession. You're working with them and building investing in other avenues. So how's that going?
Yeah, so investing is my true love. And I say this humbly, but I kind of stumbled upon the sales aspect of it, the retail side, which we've thrived in as a team and, and we continue to thrive in the sales side. But investing is really why I got into this business. It's always intrigued me. I knew that true wealth is built through investing. So after, I bought my condo in 2013. I bought a house in 2019. And, I kind of took a chance and I did my first BRRRRs, like, the method of buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. It's a long-term hold play. You pull out money with a refinance, and then you continue to do it over and over and over again. It's a strategy that I learned from David Green on Bigger Pockets podcast. I had the pleasure of meeting David Green, awesome guy. But when I did my first BRRRR, it was like, wow, I followed every step, just like I studied and listened. I executed. I didn't hesitate. I stopped overthinking it, and it worked out exactly the way I needed to work out. Is it always going to work out that way? No. But showing and proving to myself it can be done just opened up the floodgates to the possibilities, in my mind. So I don't have a huge portfolio at the moment, but I feel super confident about what's to come in the future. So I have a short-term rental or a house that I turned into a short-term rental. That's doing really well. I'm turning one of my other properties into a short-term rental. I have a long-term rental condo. We're just going to keep buying homes. I'm learning more about tax strategies to save money with cost segregation studies. I got my first 2 cost seg studies this year done recently 2 weeks ago. So that's been an eye-opening experience. So investing is just like a whole world that I'm so excited about. I don't even know where to start. Like, our team is heading towards creating an investing division. That's what we're focusing on right now, especially with the shift. And it's perfect timing, in my opinion, because as we go through the shift or market change or recession or whatever you want to call it, I didn't want to be, I didn't want us to be in the corner holding our purse, kind of bracing for shock and cutting expenses, although that's very important. I didn't want to kind of take a defensive posture. I wanted to go on the offensive. So I don't know who it was, but the best defense is an offense. Yeah. I don't know who said that, but it was just like as soon as I started hearing people talk about this shift in the market and in kind of like a really hesitant, scared way, I was like, you know what? Let's go find a new way and a better way to do business and provide for our families. So now we're building out the off-market investor division where we're going to really go after and be aggressively going after off-market deals and knowing what to do with them, whether it's wholesale, flip, or buy and hold. And so now we're focusing on that part. So the agents on our team are very excited about that.
I mean, I think you get first mover advantage, right? Like, the thing you're talking about is if you're always on defense, you're kind of reactive, right? And the whole idea in business is you want to be proactive, that if you're making moves first, you can't be taken off, hit by blindside with it. And I think that's the part around figuring out where the opportunity is. And if you're looking about the cycle ahead or the next quarter ahead or next 6 months ahead, if you get first mover advantage, like, you're going to stake the ground first, you're going to get the first deals that come up, which I think is brilliant. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, Richie, your story is amazing. There's inspirations all around that people can align with, from where you came from, the military, your thought process, your leadership growth, who you've become. I got to wrap this thing up. What are 3 things that somebody that's new to the business or somebody that hasn't diversified their business verticals like you have, what are the 3 recommendations you would give them for success when running a business?
So you have to be learning based. I know that not everyone has an obsessive personality like some of us, where I could just listen to YouTube videos in the shower and walk around and listen to audiobooks for hours. I get that part, but being learning based has to just be a part of your life. I mean, I don't even watch sports anymore. I don't know if that's good or bad, but like, I do my daily activities. I listen to my podcasts, my books. I'm with my team. And most importantly, I'm with my daughter. And when those priorities come into play, all the other stuff doesn't matter. So I would say be learning based, listen to as many books or read as many books, listen to as many podcasts as possible, and network as much as possible. Also, don't be afraid to just take a chance and go in and fail forward. If you're going into something and you're just hitting it on the money every single time, that's probably not a good thing. You're probably not challenging yourself enough. So you need to be looking forward to failures. As crazy and counterintuitive as that sounds, you need to be looking for where you can fail and poke holes in your own plan. So, and then last but not least, It's simple. Believe in yourself. Like no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is or advantage or disadvantage you think you have, it's just that. Like it's all in your head. So if anybody, if the people around you can do it, you can absolutely do it. So it just really comes down to belief in yourself. And actually, I would throw in a fourth one because I was thinking about this today. If you've mastered a skill or you know something that other people don't know, make it a point to pour into them and teach them and give without expecting anything in return. And the world just works in a way where you'll get it back in other ways. And that in itself is going to be so powerful that, it's going to come back to you in other ways.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, those are 4 different things right there that like you're hitting on. Go learn and pour into yourself, right? Challenge yourself. Right. And then from there, it's betting on yourself to go take the chance and like that whole thing. And then finally, if you can like learn, take a risk, bet on yourself. And then the final part is like pour that on to somebody else because it's going to give them the confidence. I think those are amazing things that a lot of people never experience because when you're in an entrepreneurial environment, you've got safety nets and you've got someone telling you what to do. And there's all these structures, but because you took a risk and you went into something that can actually cause change. I've been a firm believer in why we founded this podcast was that entrepreneurialism is actually the bedrock of change. That the first person to know that something is messed up is the person on the ground saying we need this thing fixed. And big companies can never move quickly to actually service the needs of something on the ground. And I think having impact within people about what you just talked about is really what causes people's internal, personal, and professional growth. So Richie, a great way to end this episode. Like, thank you so much for the time today. Really been a pleasure. And, for everybody that's tuned in to Entrepreneurial Impact, between myself, Joe Martin, and our co-host, Dave Donaldson, and our special guest, Richie Zapata out of the Virginia Beach, like Chesapeake area, like we thank you for coming in. And we'll have a new episode next week with another amazing guest. And Richie, once again, thanks for the time today, buddy. We're dropping some dimes.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.